newfound friend, hero of the Battle of Yavin, Jedi Master and veteran freedom fighter Mark Hamill. Yes, I kid you not, Luke Skywalker himself, the very Tatooine farm boy who shot a proton torpedo into an exhaust pipe the size of a womp rat to destroy the first Death Star. Pardon the momentary detour into Star Wars fanboydom.
Basically,
are you kidding me?
What they were wanting me to do was become a so-called ambassador, which is a glorified word for representative of their army of drones.
So save that tape. If we survive, we'll look at it, because that's what peak insanity looks like. And the craziest of all is Zelensky, who literally called for nuclear strikes on Russia, which has more nuclear warheads than any country on the planet, who now wants to take Crimea. What does that have to do with the Russian invasion? This is getting super, super crazy. And life on the planet is endangered by it. Maybe we could note that at least. Maybe you should know. Glenn Greenwald has said this before. He's a truly independent journalist. He writes in Substack. He joins us tonight. Glenn, thanks so much for coming on. Now, I don't want in any way my opinions to be seen as a challenge to the intellectual hegemony of the surviving Star Wars cast. But nuclear Armageddon seems like something that we should be talking about, no?
Yeah, I mean, it would seem like it would be a topic at least worth mentioning in passing when the President of the United States were closer to nuclear any time since the Cuban, which is where the United States are very close, minutes away, in fact, from destroying the planet and all life on it through nuclear annihilation. And the question I have, Tucker, and it's the question we've been asking since this all began and even before, is if you're going to go to a war, if you're going to get involved in a war, as the United States undoubtedly is in Ukraine, the question is, what is the reason to risk tens of billions of dollars, and in this case, a possible nuclear exchange? Are there really people in the United States eastern Ukraine, which 99.9% of Americans couldn't name because they shouldn't, because it doesn't matter to them? Is that question of who rules those provinces really so vital and pressing to your lives that it's worth the risk of nuclear war in order to fight Russia over it? It's worth it to Russia. It's right on the other side of the border. Why is it worth it to the United States?
Well, that's a really great question. Why? But you're not allowed to ask it. So it does. I would say one thing. During the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, I think most Americans were aware of the stakes and how close we were. Do you think most Americans have any idea how close we are now?
How do we have any idea of how close we are now when even when the president comes out and says it, they just continue to ignore that and emotionally manipulate the public?
Yeah. Glenn Greenwald, I'm sorry, from Rio tonight. Audio cut out. That's weird. So
It's called
one
sabotage.
that you may not be aware of as well, and that is that some prominent Republicans in Washington actually don't want to win in November. It seems really important to you, maybe for the future of the country, but some of them are actively trying to lose. Mitt Romney is one of them. He is working against his fellow Utah Republican Senator Mike Lee in his re-election campaign. Seems like a big story, not getting a ton of coverage. Senator Mike Lee joins us tonight. Senator, thank you very much for coming on.